Jeff Gore. My initial conversation with Jeff Gore was about an hour long. We sat at Classic Pizza and talked. And in that conversation, I was impressed that he was forthright about his involvement with the Artesian Way development off of Chambersburg Road. At that time, that the Artesian Way development had been sitting and nothing had been happening with it for years and years and years. And the initial development went into foreclosure, and Ryan Holmes bought it out of foreclosure out there. So I thought it was pretty forthright that Mr. Gore had talked about that and had talked all about his involvement about planning it, being responsible for marketing it, for water and other zoning changes and issues and such. So, I had given him a lot of kudos for being forthright about his involvement with that. Now, as we've gone on in the election, his initial things were, his posts were just as forthright about that development. And in fact, he talked about how it had gone into a place where it had stalled for quite a while, and everybody knew that it had gone into foreclosure. And he had talked about his life's accomplishments of being able to go out there and making friends and that kind of stuff. But lately, he's gone into this talking. It's kind of like a spin, where he says, well, the current development is a result of his initial vision, and he talks about, well, because it's proved that smaller lots can be effective. And if you look at that development, if you look at what has been successful and allowed Ryan to do, you see that they don't at all remarkably look at all like his original design out there. You have houses that he was trying to sell for $300,000, sitting 2 or 3 houses from houses that Ryan sold for $170,000. The whole roadscaping and all that kind of stuff is delivered. So, it could be just spin to talk about what it is now there, but fundamentally, you have to accept that maybe he actually believes that. All right, and if he actually believes that, there's an issue there to worry about Mr. Gore and his judgment ability, because the current success of Artesian Way is despite the initial development concept, not because of it. And there's a lot of things that he has adopted as well that could be spin or could be a general lack of understanding of what's going on. One of the things are the Carriage Trail supplements. The Carriage Trail supplements, we've been looking to lower those supplements out there so that we can hit the right amount, so that the city can keep as much money in the city coffers as possible and still have successful development. However, there are those people that are worried that they're not going to make enough profit, or they're not going to make as much profit as they could, so they try to convince the city that the supplements need to be higher than that they should be. Mr. Gore has kind of latched onto those people that believe that the supplements should be whatever the developer wants on there, and they talk about the contract requiring it, and there's nothing in the contract that requires the supplements to be given the way that these people are advocating for the supplements to be given. So it's a complicated issue, and the contract, it makes good sense because of the contract and contract obligations to give some supplements at this time. But if it's a matter of giving too high supplements or waiting to give those supplements years from now when they would be required, that's a totally different concept, and Mr. Gore seems to not understand what is the best interest for the city and keeping as much money in the city coffers as possible in order to for us to pay for some of the other items that go on because of that development, including the high pressure water zone. The high pressure water zone is another issue where Mr. Gore has latched on to those that think it's a good idea, despite the fact that it could cost the city a lot more. It could disrupt the water pressure for a lot of people that have good water pressure up there now. And as I say in some of the other tapes, you got to know the nuances for this, so that you know that if we increase the water pressure up there, we're going to have more complaints for those people that had good water pressure now, and the city's going to have to spend more money in order to correct that. So it makes good sense to figure out before you do that how many people are going to be affected and how much more money you're going to have to spend in the long run to correct those problems. So, and the other part that we're talking about spin here is TIFs. There's not a TIF that Mr. Gore doesn't appear to like or would implement. He never talks about anything but the good aspects of TIFs. If you know about TIFs, we've used them great here in the city. We got the I-70 water or I-70 exchanges done because of the TIFs up in that area, but we've also taken money that didn't belong to us through the Lane Park and the Family Dollar TIFs, and even though it was legal to take it, it was morally incorrect. And Mr. Gore doesn't seem to want to acknowledge that in his discussions. Now, he did give an interview, and as it turns out, there was a lot of things in that interview that were easily to dispel. So that got him thinking about this, and he's acknowledged that perhaps he'll take a deeper look at it later, but the time is now to take a look at it and go on the record that we want to convert the Lane Park and Family Dollar TIFs to a non-school TIF. That shows a fundamental understanding of when to use the TIFs or when not to use the TIFs, or non-school TIF compared to a school contributing TIF. All right, so if he wants to show that he understands that, he'll go on the record and say, hey, it's time for us to convert those TIFs to a non-school TIF. But up until those time, you have to take his interview and the things that he said in those interviews to heart, and that shows that he doesn't really understand TIFs or finances in general. So we're looking for him to step up and show some understanding of some fundamental aspects of development, of TIFs, of the considerations before you do a major project like the high pressure water zone. So at this time, I have to say that Dave Wilson shows a lot more understanding of all those things there, and Dave Wilson is the stronger candidate for mayor.